listen, here's the thing. What's up to our sidekicks and henchfolk out there in the Geek Nation? I'm going to be honest. We're having a lot of technical difficulties, even just behind a peek behind the sausage, our sausage curtains.
It's a sausage curtain. It's a curtain of Link sausages. That's just like a bangled of beads. It's just all
sausage,
cured sausage.
Yeah, Daddy, would you like some sausage?
Yeah.
And backstage in the green room, we were having trouble even talking to each other before going live. So we're not sure how this is going to go. I don't know if we're having computer troubles or internet troubles. And even Brian on his own is having to reboot his computer. It's a whole clutter of fudge nuggets. But here we are to episode 790 of CultPop podcast. We're going to hopefully talk about this month's books. So, there's a new format to the show. We do a movie one week, we do a graphic novel another week. And at the end of every month, we do in the beginning of the next month, we do a comic book roundup wherein we will talk about some of our favorite books from the past month. I'm your host, Johnny Destructo of Johnny Destructo's Hero Complex. I'm located at 4327 Main Street, Philadelphia, PA. It's a super rad comic shop, which caters to you, so get in here and buy yo shit. Joining me tonight, so far, is Noel Bartocci. Hi, my friend. Uh-oh. Oh, no. Oh, jeez.
No, I know that you probably introduced me. I knew that you probably introduced me. And maybe I'm talking over you, but who knows? Who cares? It's fine. No. We're going to do this, and it's going to be horrible. Or it's going to be like starts and stops of like, hey, I'm talking about how much I like this book and the art and blah, blah, blah. And what do you guys think? And then like a buffering thing. And then we'll spend 20 minutes talking about how we don't know what each other said. It'll be great. It's probably going to be better audio.
Yeah. That's true, because Andrew will be editing this together. Speaking of the way you said horrible, I wish that was my tribble name, the Horrible Tribble.
Horrible Tribble.
Horrible Tribble.
It's gonna be. I'm drinking. Are you drinking?
I'm drinking.
No, okay.
I am drinking. Oktoberfest lager. Trogs. Clink.
A nice crisp lager. Let's bring Brian on.
Yeah.
Do it.
Hey, there we go. All right.
Hey. Hi, buddy.
Hey, are you
What's happening, guys?
Nothing good. Happening? We've just been going. We're all having technical difficulties in
regards to
being on the same. Yeah, it's nothing but buffering and like start stops, and then when you message like, I got to reboot, we're like, yeah, I mean, join the fucking club.
Cool.
Is it?
What's with the already with the goddamn attitude from Christopher St. Saucy? What the fuck's this? Yeah, it's a pork pie hat. You're welcome.
So I'm gonna mildly take over.
A mild takeover. Oh
shit! He's already frozen.
See, I don't know if you responded. Do we have letters?
Yes,
we do.
Yes.
Oh God, letters. I hate everything.
We have a letter. I'm gonna read it.
Oh
it's
God,
Christopher.
just do
Good
it.
night.
Let's just go.
So my trips to Chicago and New York kind of wiped me out financially, and I'm purging a lot of my collectibles to make sure I can pay a few bills at the start of the month. Have you ever had to get rid of some things you like but don't love? Have you ever regretted it later? Is there something you intentionally got rid of that you wish you could get back? Not something that was stolen, but something you chose to give away. What about something you lost? Chris St. Saucy, good night. That's a good question, actually, if the other guys heard it. Did you guys hear that question?
I heard the whole thing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Heard the whole thing.
Sweet.
Heard it.
All right, Brian, go.
There are many things that I have lost, I guess, that I would like to get back, or lost out on, which is not the question at all, but that I was like, I'm not going to get it. And then later I'm like, why did I get it? I guess there are some items from childhood and that kind of thing that were thrown away, or I don't even, as the years have passed, I don't even remember what most of them are. Every now and then I'll think like, whatever happened to that thing? I bet it was lost. But you know what I did? I was moving out of my mom's place a while ago, and I love to hang on to things. My mom said, well, some of these things that you're not going to hang on to, just take a picture of it, right? And like I had an old TV that was given to me for a birthday present. It was a TV VCR combo, and it was awesome, right? Top flight, and I loved it. And but it was a TV VCR combo, right? So I was going to get rid of it. And this giant gorilla that I won or co-won at skee ball, right? It was, I guess, small for a real gorilla, but so I took a picture of it, and you know what? It's like just as good memories wise for personal items of that level of personal item. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. What I really wanted was to be able to look at those things and remember, and that's basically what happens with the picture too.
Holy shit! Brian invented NFTs. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah. Do not fudge.
I mean, there's hundreds of books behind me and then hundreds of books in front of me. There's a whole bunch of things that I've sold and then eventually repurchased at some point, just because like I'll have read a book or I'll need shelf space or I'll cycle through, and then a couple years later, like, oh, I really want to reread that, and I'll pick it up again or something like that. Trying to think, nothing really comes to mind, but it's almost always like a hardcover collection or an upsell or
My stepdad once, he had like Fantastic Four #1, X-Men #1, all those. And then, a few years later, he got the collected editions, and he's like, "Well, what do I need with the original ones?" He got rid of them, and later on has regretted it.
Yeah,
but he also got a no prize once, so that's pretty cool.
Oh, nice!
Yeah, I think from the era when they were still actually sending out an envelope with nothing in it. Yeah,
that's pretty great.
That's cool. Yeah, it's
cool. Mine. I had Amazing Fantasy 15, and I sold it. I had just gotten a divorce, and I needed some start over money. So I sold my car, and I sold my I traded in my car for a more reasonable car. I had a Mustang, and I had Amazing Fantasy 15, and I sold it. And I don't know if I wish I still had it. I probably, yes. You know what? Yes, I do. I do wish I still had it.
Have it, of course.
Yeah.
But not sure if you regret having sold it.
Yeah.
I assume.
Yeah.
Right.
I would probably get it graded at this point if I had it again. Noel's having a conniption.
So you guys have you're seeing each other in real time and everything's fine.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fuck everything.
Oh no.
Sorry.
Everything.
That means the problem's me. That's fine. I'll figure it out. Keep going.
All right.
Continue to talk about your Amazing Fantasy 15 and the comics your father gave away. That's great. I'll talk to you guys on occasion
we also,
when it's only not buffering.
This is a bit off topic, but
what else is new for this show?
Right on. The off topic is the topic.
Yeah.
So my dad, we were in the newspaper wholesale business, as I think I've mentioned on the show many times, and he had some serious like golden age Superman comics, like see in reprints of famous covers, kind of like the him sticking his head in the lion's mouth, that one, that kind of thing. And there was a fire at the business when I was in 4th grade, and those were in the safe. It was not a fireproof safe, and they were lost. Obviously, that wasn't anybody's decision, but it's a shame. Yeah,
it sucks.
Yeah.
So thank you, Chris, for that email. That was a really good. That was a great question. I applaud you. That was great.
Do it. You just said I applaud you.
Yeah.
I want the applause.
Nah.
All right. Well, the nature of applause, right? What is it? Did you get applause? I guess so.
So anyway, let's see. Letters, blah, blah, blah. Oh, the letters portion of the show is done. We have done it. Congratulations to us. I applaud us. Yeah. But now we're going to move on to the meat and potatoes of the show, which is this month's comic book delivering. We're going to start off with Vash #1 from Image Comics, which is written by Donny Cates with art by Ryan Stegman. You know what? I should mention we're skipping the what you did this week because we've got a bunch of books to get to.
Oh, it's funny. I was going to say we can make this decision real time. Do you want to do a 1 or 2 what you've been up to this week while Noel gets back in the swing?
Oh, sure. Actually, it
Yeah.
looks like Hal said, I guess my email didn't go through. So why don't you say some things while I look for Hal's email?
Okay. You guys, I watched Quantum Leap, the new one, episodes 1 and 2. Hey, Noel's back. All right. Nuts to what we've been up to this week. Oh, we're getting into the books.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
We were gonna stall for time by saying stuff that we had watched, but
I mean,
you're here.
we're already like 40 minutes over schedule, so just power through whether I'm here or not.
All right, sweet. Anyway, JD's looking up a letter, and I was saying about how I watched 2 episodes of the new Quantum Leap show, and I'll tell you what, I love the show, and Quantum Leap, and the first episode was very network TV, right? And I was like, a lot of setup, a lot of very hanging a lantern on it, but even the lantern was obvious setup kind of stuff. And I was a little worried because it's partially by the creator of the original one, and that was a long time ago. But I think there's a new showrunner. So I thought to myself, the exposition is done now. Let's see what happens. Second episode was great. They were like into it. Now that we're into the leaping, it's like, all right, here we go. Some cool reference to the other stuff that is interesting if you watch the other stuff, but also serves as a story point. And I have high hopes. We'll see how the next several episodes and series goes.
I missed all of that because I was looking.
I got caught up on House of the Dragon.
Okay, cool.
I got caught up on House of the Dragons just recently, and really quick. Everything that I disliked and found grody about Game of Thrones, this entire show is that's a feature. That is a highlight, huge feature, and I'm just kind of. I'm going to finish the season, but I'm probably done with it.
Yeah. You confused me, Noel, because you're saying it's a feature, not a bug. Made me think that it is a feature, not a bug in the show.
No. The shittiness is a feature of the show, and I don't care for it. How much do you love incest and intermingling with family?
I think a reasonable amount.
I mean,
then you'll love
look
it.
At my Pornhub search.
Actually, let's do that. What you been up to this week, JD?
Well, let me bring up my Pornhub search. Stepsister, stepbrother, step uncle, step.
Oh well, I mean, it's your own personal Game of Thrones. Let's go.
Yeah,
keeping the lineage strong. Yeah.
Gotta be a Game of Thrones point.
Hal, I found your email. Here we go.
Here it is.
We have one more email.
This better be good, Hal. We searched for it.
Yeah, we went through a lot of buffering for this.
He resent it. Here we go. Good evening, guys. It's your boy Charles in Chattanooga, aka Hal 2013. How hanging? A while back, I decided to go cold turkey on Batman because it felt like DC was just shoving him down our throats. Then there was the Batman movie, which was so good. Then Batman Catwoman. So I got it because I like Tom King when he only has 12 issues to do.
Yeah.
Next was Batman Beyond the White Knight. Batman One Bad Day, the Riddler, and then Two-Face, and I broke down and I got them too. My question is there a character or series you wanted to take a break from and for whatever reason kept getting dragged back in? Hopefully,
I can answer for JD.
I see you guys. Hopefully, I see you guys live tonight because it's football season, Monday Night Football, and I have to keep up with my fantasy team. But when I do miss it live, I'll watch y'all during the week. Till next time, spoiler alert. So Noel says he has an answer
I can
for
answer
me?
for you. It's probably just Spider-Man in general. Oh, wait, no. It's not true. You've never wanted to take a break from it.
Yeah.
Oh, I wanted to take a break during the Clone Saga.
That was a long
And I
time
wanted
ago.
to take a break during John Burns Chapter 1 and John Burns Spider-Man run after that.
But did you?
No.
No.
Yeah.
You didn't get pulled back in. You just were held fast in it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Batman's my character, I think, because I jumped into Tom King late. I got a little annoyed with it, but really liked the finish. And I was excited about Tynion coming on. Got like 6 or 7 issues into it, and I just really disliked it, so jumped off. Then I saw that Chip Zdarsky was coming on, jumped on it, and I'm ready to drop it after the first arc. It's fine, but maybe I'm just no longer Batman in single issues fan because I've been preferring the miniseries and other stories as opposed to the ongoing.
JD,
I have one more. It
what
was
is it?
Scott Snyder's Justice League.
Did you keep getting pulled into that? Or
Yeah,
was it,
I kept
by
leaving,
Noel? Right.
and then Noel would tell me what was happening, and I was like, "That sounds so great!" And I would jump back
That's
in, and I
not
was like,
fair.
it was no, it's not Noel's fault. It's just the
He
way
was
Noel
responsible.
told it sounded awesome. But then when I was reading it, I was like, it was better when Noel was telling me about
But then I kept saying, guys, this sounds cool. It's not. It's so
He
annoying.
did say that a lot.
It was like
It's
the caveat
true.
of every excited. Like I was excited to purge it as opposed to excited to tell you about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see.
Honestly, these
What's yours,
days
Brian?
might. Oh,
Nothing comes to mind that I've had that going on with. I remember thinking distinctly, like years ago, that being a ongoing comics fan is like you have to stick with the characters that you really like, even if they've sucked for a while, because especially in those days, when no trades or anything, you're like, if something cool starts happening, I won't know about it until it's already 3 issues in. It's too late. But not to say that there's never been a book that I was just disinterested in and dropped and then never picked back up. But I don't think there's ever been one that I kept going back to. That I was like, I'm done, and then kept returning to.
Can I be honest? I'm at a point now where I'm enjoying endings very much, and I look forward to dropping books when
you just create the ending.
Daredevil, so Jason Aaron is about to leave Avengers. I've been with it from the jump. I'm excited to let that kind of end and to just let go of Avengers for a while. My pull box is too fucking big, and I've got such a backlog. I can't imagine a single creative team. I'm sure there's creative teams that I would be excited about, and I'll explore eventually, but I can't imagine a creative team that'll just be like, I can't wait to stay on this book. Like I'm kind of looking forward to like jump off points so I could explore something else, and then I'll like circle back around as opposed to the grind of monthly books sometimes. So
what if Donny Cates took over Avengers after Jason Aaron left?
I mean, I'm already reading his Thor and Hulk. Well, it's not going to happen, but I'm already reading his like Thor and Hulk, and so it's like,
what if he left Thor and Hulk to do Avengers?
Then I would look forward to leaving Hulk and Thor, and then we'll explore them later down the road.
But Jason Aaron starts on Hulk and Thor.
He returns to Thor.
He returns to Thor, and it's all new.
There's always a caveat, but like even that kind of like it's just like I'm reading all of Donny Cates' like other stuff. It's not like things are so like the market is so large right. There's only enough time of the day, and I could circle back around on a lot of things that don't have to have 25 books a week. That's just ridiculous. So like I'm almost looking for outs or for exit ramps at this point.
Todd Engel is commenting down in the chat. It says Spider-Man is super pickup for a run /drop/pickup. Avengers hasn't been good since, well, a long time ago. Jason Aaron, who I generally love, was a no.
Now, I don't know if I would count, like, if that's the qualification. I've done that plenty of times where it's like, Nightwing is a character that I don't follow long term, but if I hear something interesting is coming, I might pick it up. That kind of thing. But it just doesn't feel like I keep trying to quit it and I go back,
I mean, I hope it doesn't. I hope I didn't get off the impression that I'm not loving Avengers. I'm actually.
That's what it sounded like to me.
It's not being on my pull list right now.
And Hal says,
no, I love
Spider-Man I love Spider-Man from being a kid, but one more day in Clone Saga pissed me off so bad I stopped reading Spider-Man, but I'm slowly going back to him.
Wait, why was that addressed to me? Or does it say, Brian, I love Spider-Man? Did I say something against against Hal's love of Spider-Man?
No, I'm not
All
sure.
right.
Maybe you're just his favorite
that's
guest.
I could see that.
If you expect me to respond to anything that's happening in real time, you can go fuck yourself.
Okay. Was that something we said a little while ago?
Yes.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of Donny Cates, Vanish #1 from Image Comics, written by Donny Cates with art by Ryan Stegman. Oliver Harrison was a mythical hero who slayed the greatest threat to his realm before even hitting puberty. But that was then. As an adult, Oliver leads an average cookie-cutter suburban life, aside from the fact that he's mentally unstable, massively paranoid, smokes like a chimney, and gets blackout drunk every night to hide from his horrific nightmares. Will the arrival of a superhero team called The Prestige prove the madness isn't all in Oliver's head? And what about all the epic fantasy crap from his childhood? So, straight off the bat, this was an interesting book. It took a bunch of stuff and jammed it together, and I still liked it. We have basically Harry Potter. Right? He's this kid. He has to go up against a villain. He defeats the villain, and then goes on with his life. He grows up, and then that's where the Harry Potter ends. And he grows up and becomes addicted to many substances and all this whatnot. And then the superhero kid shows up, and hijinks ensue, and some fun twists. I like this. I thought this was kind of fun. It feels a little edgelordy somehow. I can't explain why. But I still enjoyed it. Yeah. What did you think?
Very 90s sort of aesthetic.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Very much like a 90s comic.
It's like we talked about last week. We were talking about books, aesthetic from certain periods of time in comic book history being revisited with a modern sensibility.
Well, that sounds like
this is sort of that, right?
Yeah.
What?
Sounds like a fun conversation. I wasn't here for it.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think I in the notes from last week I had erased Vanish 1 because I touched on it real quick and I was like, we're going to talk about it next week. But is basically my feeling of it too. Like it's all of these kind of tropes that I don't have affection for at all because it's not an era of comics that I enjoy. This 90s aesthetic and chains and fucking dark, crazy weirdness. But it's done with a modern voice, and despite all of the shit thrown at it and it just jammed into it, there's still a perceivable heart in there, and it's effective. And I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. Despite myself, I enjoyed it. And yeah, it like Harry Potter or the Harry Potter-esque person, if they were marked for death from age 1 on and forced to murder, or the chosen one to force to murder and do all this crazy shit to save the world, you'd have real trauma.
Yeah.
Real, imperceivable, difficult to get over substance abuse trauma. And I was like, oh, it's edgy, but it's kind of no lies detected, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, what did you think, Brian?
I really enjoyed it, and I'll tell you what. In the beginning, I did not think that I would. I started reading it, and I was like, ugh, a first issue, like so many first issues before it, and I don't know, something about the beginning of the setup just seemed pretty by the numbers, and I found myself drawn into it. I think I was a little more drawn into it when I found out, you know what? No, when it first came, that it was, oh, this is the story. What happens when the chosen one has already done his thing and now it's over and it gets real. And I was like, ugh, this again, And then as he started telling his story, it was a little interesting, and he got to his, the inciting incident when the whatever his name is, Baron someone, Hollow.
It's Baron Vanish is the bad guy.
I thought he was Vanish.
No.
Yeah, whatever. So who's Hollow? Who's that guy?
I don't know.
Hey, somebody's Hollow. But
Vanish is the bad guy, I believe.
Anyway, when he shows up, he's this purple fellow, and he's like terrorizing everything magically, and this chosen one is listing the things he's not supposed to do, one of which is don't use anything from the regular world, and he's broken that rule, pulls out a gun and shoots the guy, and it takes him out. Aces, no problem.
I laughed out loud at that. I was like, yes.
it was a legit, and at the fan expo, I subscribed to their to Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman's Substack. Part of that was that I went and saw their panel at the fan expo, so I got a chance to like do a Q&A and stuff. His pitch, his description for Vanish, he went in like a weird rant / tear about like like all the things that he wanted to nitpick at Harry Potter and how like oddly specific it is, and how like you could break it apart with just like changing one plot point. And he was just like, give the kid a gun immediately and then it's over. It's a completely different story because they have not introduced anything like this in the world and blah blah blah. So it was like taking something that you have like issues with, kind of like inserting other like conflicts and then seeing what happens afterwards. So it was like it was like a storytelling exercise. So he was like, well, what if like thinking through things like, what if I gave Harry Potter a gun? And then he just ended Voldemort in the second movie. Where would things go from there? And then it turned into this, and it was like even that as a short pitch sounds like the most uninteresting edgelord bullshit, but he spun it into like a really entertaining comic.
Gold.
And it continues to be cool. The whole like in the first couple of scenes, you think he's this, he's this guy who's on all kind of drugs and he drinks all the time, and he's really screwed up everything. But after that flashback, it turns out it's mostly because he's dulling the kind of magical pain of emotional and magical pain. And so it's very understandable. And then he gets some magic back, and he's like, oh, I'm done with that now. And it's the idea that these former, not Dementors, what were they in Voldemort's followers? I forget what they were. Death Eaters.
Yeah.
These former Death Eaters are making themselves appear as superheroes and just doing good deeds. He was like, all right, fuck it. I'm going to make myself look like a bad guy, and I'm going to hunt all you motherfuckers down. I'm like, okay.
Cool. And I think
it's Harry Potter meets the Thunderbolts meets Irredeemable.
Mm-hmm. Those are all great things.
Also,
I
think
Potter.
The guy that took the form of the kid superhero, and he said, no, we've changed. Like, it's not like that. I don't think he's lying about that. Like, I think there's more to their story, too, which seems interesting. Also, it is Baron Vanish and his followers, the Hollow.
Yeah,
that's
cool.
the story there.
Okay.
I'm wondering.
So we were both right.
I thought that was
well,
weird. Like
right.
when I saw that the Voldemort character was called Baron Vanish and the book is called Vanish, I'm assuming, is he going to be calling himself Vanish because he's going to be the new villain of the piece?
Like Vanish. I'm Vanish. Who are you calling Vanish? It's so confusing between us.
I want to, but then also never want to see that conversation happen in this comic book. Vanish? Me Vanish? You Vanish?
Yeah, I thought you were talking about the other Vanish. And then, came in, and then, you don't need me, I'm out of here.
The last panel is everyone going,
hey, it's Vanish. All right, well, we don't need to read this. That's what's going to happen.
No, that's issue 2. So this is this is an ongoing. I do that with air quotes. Ongoing. It's a 8-issue story with room to continue if they wanted to, but it seems as though they're going to maybe do this in volumes, not unlike like Hellboy style, where it's like the first series of Vanish is 8 issues and that's that, and then take a break and start again. Because this is Stegman's art is awesome, and he's getting more and more detailed with his work. So I'm assuming it probably takes a lot longer these days.
Oh, hey, I also like that his wife, and the way that they reveal that his wife is the kid, girl, or teenager from his past. So she's also in the magical realm and they've still got these disagreements. You know, like
well, that's a bit of a piece of it too. I think I remember in the pitch he talks about how like also like the dynamic of these characters is what if you also peaked at high school and you married your high school sweetheart kind of thing, like you have real world problems even though it might have been true love. So like that's also like another layer of it. Everything that he was meant to do in life he did at like 13.
Yeah. Although he
so
saw that
the kind of trauma and bullshit you go through since then.
And yeah, not having anything to do, I guess. But he saw that vision, which they seed pretty well also. Like, he sees Baron Vanish, like, trotting upon the world. So I think that's a cool tease, too, because it seems like it's not done.
It's a good book.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to issue 2. I'm definitely going to stick with this one. Let's not stick with this one. Let's move on to Amazing Spider-Man number 10 from Marvel Comics, written by Zeb Wells with art by Nick Dragotta. It's time for Spider-Man to be judged, and I think we all know which moment in Spidey's history is going to weigh heavily on the proceedings. You don't want to miss this very special issue that might just break your heart all over again. So, as we've said in this here episode, I have been reading Spider-Man loyally for decades. And I saw this cover and I was like, oh, cool, great. Another Gwen Stacy appearance. Okay, she's been dead for also decades. And every so often it was like, oh, Gwen Stacy's return. Oh, it's like it was a clone. It's like it was this other thing, you know. And I caught up on issues 9 and 10 of Amazing. And issue 9 was fun, and it dealt with the X-Men. It was X-Men crossover, part of Axe, the big crossover that's going on. And then this one, also fun, because it's also part of, Axe, right? This is also Axe, Judgment.
This is Axe. That was Hellfire Gala, but it doesn't
Hellfire
matter.
Gala,
They were 2 one-shots.
Yeah, I liked all the Mary Jane stuff in the last issue. But here we got Gwen. So basically, I'm not reading AXE, but what's happening is one of the, what are they called? Celestials is out there, and he's like, hey, you got 24 hours. I'm going to judge all of you individually, and we're going to see how it goes, how it shakes out. So we have Spider-Man, Peter Parker, being followed around for 24 hours by a manifestation of a celestial that has taken the form of Gwen Stacy from Peter's memories. And the end of this was kind of adorable. I really liked the end of this. What did you guys think, Brian?
I liked it too. I felt pretty similarly to yourself, JD. When I saw the cover, I was like,
You choked.
That's what I
You choked on it.
He did a spit take.
That's what I said to myself. I breathed in some of my own saliva, and then I got down to reading the book. And I was like, oh, JD or Gwen, back again. Yeah. This isn't gonna happen, you know. Let's see where they're at. So anyway, I liked it. It was a good story. I liked that they said pretty straight away that it wasn't Gwen. And they didn't try to trick you. Although there was a moment in the book where I thought, oh, are they doing this? Because I didn't clock at first that it was part of the Axe thing or like, you know, what that meant. So there was a moment where I thought they might, because that's also not out of the question that they would do it. You know, we thought Bucky was gone for good too. So I didn't know if they'd been leading up to something that might make sense for. But yeah, it was cool. It was cool seeing them do the judgment thing. Although I've got to say, everyone kind of running around and apologizing or trying to help other people. I think that probably would happen, but it is crazy. Like, do you think that's going to do it? You think that when the Celestial shows up to judge you, you pretend to be nice in front of it, or even are nice, and that will spare you? I mean, it probably counts for something.
I think you should ask. I think you should ask all of the people who. Yeah, I think you should ask all the people on their deathbeds who all of a sudden believe in a god.
Yes, I should ask them.
Go ask them. Go.
Yeah.
We'll wait.
I mean, in general too, though, you're like, you know, that's very realistic.
Oh, yeah. I'm not saying it isn't. But like Jameson, who is like, I gotta quick apologize to everyone. And it's like, so you knew already that you should have done this. And you're right about the deathbed thing, or people who know that they are dying and go around and try to make things right. That feels a little different also because, they've got this new perspective and they want to make sure they want to try to make things right. It seems more like these people are like, I'm about to be judged. Oh, shit. I better help an old lady across the street real quick.
I mean, the deathbed thing, it is pretty apt, though, because in the instance of this, the stakes are the fact that they will all be incinerated and the planet will be raised if they are judged poorly.
Yeah.
So it is your last 24 hours to do as many good deeds as possible. And people are literal. They're stupid. They think that like, oh, you instead of just like be a good person and the right thing in your heart, it's like they're checking boxes, which
that's true too.
Inherently believe that people would do.
They most certainly would, and maybe some out of the best of intentions that they're like, I don't know what to do, but this I've been told is good. It seems good. But from the perspective of the Celestial,
they're not fooling the Celestial.
Doing anything?
I hope you don't. I hope you don't think
exactly.
that. Right?
Yeah.
They're not, like that's not a thing.
Yeah.
So the other books that I've tied into this is off the topic. The other books that I've tied into this do get into those conversations. Like the Axe book itself is actually from the perspective of the Celestial that's doing the judging. So they'll talk about like the word balloons are actually talking about how this person is doing this and it doesn't matter because of this, and or this person thinks that they're not worthy and they are because of this. There's actually a really cool like sequence in the fourth issue where they're doing like a speed round, like one panel judgment of a bunch of main characters, and Miles is the best, where it's just because the Celestial will either show up as a Celestial and like thumb up or thumb down, or engage with the person disguised as somebody that's in their life. For Miles, it shows up as Peter and just gives him a thumbs up, and Miles is like, yeah, okay. And they just, it's like, it's hilarious. It's like, this kid is so pure. Like the progenitor is even saying like, this kid is so like onto it and so worthy of his station that I give him a thumbs up and he responds in kind. And it's just like, so his entire judgment was 2 seconds of like, nice, cool. All right.
What are the surprises?
Yeah.
What have we got? Like any heroes that have been judged poorly that you wouldn't think?
Spoilers? Sure. Yeah.
No!
Captain America.
Oh, never mind. No spoilers, apparently.
What I was about to say is I'm catching up on Eternals by Kieran Gillen, and I can't wait to get to AXE so I can read it. I'm trying to.
This doesn't have anything to do with that.
Oh.
The thing at the end of the issue 6 of Eternals doesn't have to do with how Captain America was judged.
No, I know. I just meant I'm just going to read
All right.
Acts.
Let's talk about it in
7 months.
Put it on the calendar.
Hal says, yeah, Noel, if you live your life trying to be a good person, you won't have to scramble on your judgment day or deathbed to make up for it. Weird that he's calling you out specifically. Like, Noel, you specifically need to live your life as a good person. That way you won't have to scramble.
Hal is validating me. He understands that I am a good person and I don't need to scramble to do that.
Oh, I see.
That's good.
I do want to say I do not like Nick Dragotta's art on this book.
Yes and no. Nick Dragotta's art, I love it usually. I'm more used to it in East of West, which is black and white with just some like pops of color in certain sequences. It being completely colored like this, like at the very least, get rid of the 5 o'clock shadow on Peter's face. Like it looks, there's a, like that panel on the bottom of Peter screaming, his eyes part from his face. Like but the way that he depicts Gwen in the whole book is top notch.
Very good. Like I like her little smile.
He has her acting perfect because the course of this book, like the story of this book is the not speaking Celestial as Gwen warming up to Peter just being Peter, and it's great.
I don't like his Peter. The only thing I don't like, actually, now that I'm looking through it, like Aunt May looks great, Gwen looks great, J. Jonah Jameson looks awesome. It's really just Peter Parker's facial expressions that just does not work for me.
All right.
His eyes are so far apart.
He looks like an Archie character.
Which his Aunt May was sort of in. There was like that young Aunt May and Ben in love comic for a while.
Oh,
yeah.
Trouble?
Trouble.
Just such an odd comic
by
to
Mark
have existed.
Millar.
Yeah. Oh, no. From like the 60s.
Oh.
Yeah. It was like a
Really?
legitimate romance comic starring young May and Ben.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
I want to read that. That's awesome. I had no idea. I thought you were talking about Trouble.
Nope.
Huh.
I never read Trouble.
It was weird. Briar #1 from Boom Studios, written by Christopher Cantwell and art by Germaine Garcia. Germaine Garcia.
With the
What if Sleeping Beauty never got her happily ever after and instead had to save herself? Set in a brutal fantasy world that time forgot, this isn't the fairy tale you know. I was very excited about this book just from the cover. I saw this cover and I said, that cover is dope as shit. I love it.
Agreed.
And then I read it and I was like, oh, what is this? What am I? Oh, okay. This is Briar Rose. Why do I know that name? Briar Rose. Oh, okay. Oh shit, Sleeping Beauty. And then, oh, what if Prince Charming never woke her up and was just like, I'm gonna marry this sleeping lady and be king, which is brutal. And then she wakes up. So much cool shit. The first half of this book, I was on board. I loved it. And then as we got more and more into the story, oh, there's an ROUS. I love that. ROUS out of nowhere. Rodents of unusual size.
Oh.
But then for some reason, as we get to this point, we get to the tavern and then she gets kidnapped. It just started to get disinterested. It just sort of petered out for me as it went along until the very end. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm really going to bother with issue #2. But boy, I was in for the first half. What did you think, Brian?
I'll tell you what, you put the comic cover up on screen and I thought, oh man, I must have missed that one. I totally forgot to read it. And then I opened it up and I was like, oh no, I did read this. It was not, so maybe not that memorable. But I think contrasting it with Vanish, this was like an issue #1 that I was like, yeah, I guess you're doing the twisted take on classic tale. And nothing all that interesting or that new about it, you know. I thought the second half was maybe a little bit more interesting than the first, oddly. But yeah, and come to think of it, the prince is like, I'm not going to wake her up. I'm just going to be the king. I don't think he would have had much of a problem in that day and age doing whatever he wanted when he married her. You know what I mean? And so the kingdom sours and then, you know, whatever, she's asleep for a long time. Kind of an interesting turn that she's like desiccated after this because she's been
it's 100 years
asleep for so long.
Yeah.
But that's what it was in the original one, which is sort of a weird turn, right? I think it was like a really long time, wasn't it?
Really?
Was her family still alive? I don't remember.
Dude, I don't know. All I know, it's been long time.
It's been a long time. And I had the same experience. I was like, Briar Rose, that's very familiar.
Well, I've been reading Fables, so Briar Rose is a
is that what they call her?
Yeah. Yeah, where she, pricks her hand and falls asleep. Yeah,
because I think in the Disney movie her name's Aurora, right?
Yeah,
but Briar makes sense. It's all about that prick really defines
baby.
her, right? Yeah.
I liked this a lot more than you guys did.
Oh, good.
Cool.
I really like the first half is stronger. The second half feels like exposition, or the first half is exposition, but it's good. The second half feels like table setting, and it's quick. So I think it's a pacing problem. Neither of them are less interesting than each other. It's just they put a lot of very interesting groundwork, and also too, I want to call out the text boxes, the narration of a narrator who was fired from their job and or doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah,
is interesting.
yeah,
and it's fun,
I
and they
thought
bring it
dead,
back
right?
later too. Well, yeah,
the
dead.
narrator's dead. Yeah.
It's so, and that also kind of, the narrator usually for these stories, or at least historically, is a male lens, I guess you could probably say, right? It's the narrator is always like an orator, and it was just always a man or a male. And then the twist, I mean, that's how I've always read it, and that's literally how it's always been orated in plays and movies and
I
stuff.
know,
Like,
like,
it's
the Brothers Grimm like collected it, and I never thought about it before, but now that you mention it, I wondered like who was telling those stories that they collected. You know,
every time, and at
I
least in pop culture, or just any
for
time
sure.
that it's been translated, the narrator is a man.
Yeah, that's true.
And then the twist of the story being, whether it's realistic or not or whatever, is the Prince Charming. Is it Charming in this one or not? I don't care. The prince.
Yeah, I think so.
Removing autonomy from her, and then so like they remove the narrator. The twist is removing autonomy, and then she is kissed by something or someone.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah,
and
mysterious figure.
And now it's kind of like a earn your. I found this mildly empowering. I'd like to see where it goes. Do I think that this was a perfect issue? No, but there was enough interesting things in here where I absolutely want to see where it goes. So yeah, I'll finish this series.
What if it's a time travel story? It kisses herself.
Sure.
That'd be cool.
Sure.
I do like the time jump aspect. You know, now that we're looking at it again, me having forgotten about it maybe is not as much of a condemnation.
Wait. Okay, so I know that you guys usually clipped. So we all have different reading habits. I usually will like read slowly over the course of the week and stuff. I know that you guys usually kind of like clip them all in. This was a good 2-sitting book. I read the first half, did something else for a little while, and then read the second half, and it did absorb much better than just a speed read through. Like, superhero comics are just meant to be kind of like eaten like popcorn. This one was a little different, especially with the narration, how it was kind of like interweaving and then disappeared and came back. It was a better in pieces.
I do want to say I love the artwork.
Yeah.
The art is a good looking, especially when the artist, let's see, what is the artist's name? Jermaine Garcia. When they're working with shadows, when the panels get darker and we get a little bit more interplay between shadow and light, very, very well done. It's almost Mignola-esque. Yeah, very nice. It's like Mignola meets, who is that guy who was drawing Otto Schmidt? It's Mignola meets Otto Schmidt. Which is a very cool looking book.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see, now that the setup has been done. I mean, I probably won't see it, but maybe it'll be collected in a cool trade. But the setup of the jump ahead is something that doesn't usually happen in fantasy stories in this way. And, you know, like they're in a different world than the one they left kind of thing.
Her kingdom, it's however many hundred years later, her kingdom is completely taken over by different factions. You get a map. This series is only 4 issues.
Oh, is that right?
So it's like low buy-in.
Okay.
Let's see where it goes, kind of thing. Like if this was the beginning of an ongoing, maybe I'd feel differently. But I'm absolutely going to give it a second issue because there was enough really interesting shit in there.
Do a Thunder round when issue 2 hits.
I refuse. Of course, sure, yeah.
Hey, speaking of Thunder round, you guys, Thunder round. I read some book that I kind of thought was on our list that I don't think was. Did either of you read Love Everlasting issue number 2?
Yeah, no. I did.
Yeah. What do you think about it? Did you like it?
I did. Yeah. I did. It kind of expanded the weirdness of the first issue. Okay. So instead of it being like Quantum Leap-esque where she's jumping into, or at least seemingly without agency, jumping into different love stories or romance tropes, there's also somebody chasing her through these tropes, and she's every time that she dies or leaves one, she's able to she can like start over.
Mhm.
So like it's just kind of like Groundhog Day style, kind of replaying it. So like the whole issue was constructed as her perfectly going through a scenario, and a stable girl marrying the the master's son, and they're in love forever, and blah blah blah. And then all of a sudden, it was really it's revealed that it was really just her kind of gaming the system to finally get a gun in order to shoot her.
Oh shit!
Like it's playing with all of these tropes in really interesting ways. I have no idea what the fuck is going on still, but it's very good.
For anyone who doesn't know, Love Everlasting is the new Tom King series that is dealing with the tropes of sort of the misogynistic romance comics from the 60s. And the first issue we talked about, and I think we all loved.
I think it's romance novels too, because I don't know if have there been like Jane Eyre and Downton Abbey style comics, because it plays with those two. It just plays with all romance literature, I would say.
I think there probably were, you know, in the era when crime and romance comics were big.
I guess so. Yeah,
Silver Age. Yeah, I think those were in there.
It's very good. It's very fascinating, even though I only barely understand what's going on. I don't know, Brian. What did you feel the same way or differently?
I remember the last one being like, what's going on here? And kind of at the turn at the end, I was like, all right, that was interesting. And then I had totally forgotten about it. And I was like, whoa, what's this Love Everlasting #2? And we get into it, and I remembered what the deal was. And I felt like this was way too much of the romance story. It was like the whole issue was one section of issue #1. And then you get to the interesting part at the end again. And I'm like, 2 pages. Recap the fact that she's in a romance thing and then get into it, you know?
So I was about to say, I think that was intentional. Of course it was fucking intentional. That's what they
wrote
made.
It.
But yeah.
Right.
Look, I was just trying to Brian before you Brianed. All right. Just give me a second.
Then you're onto something.
But I love that they did that, because what I read before, they literally for 20 out of the 22 pages, or like maybe 15 out of the 22 pages, they took me on a different journey and made me kind of question it for a while, and like, okay, and then hit me. Now, I don't think every issue is going to be like this. I think it's going to be more like the first issue. This was just kind of showing you how she's able to gain experience and kind of, so like I really liked, if every issue is like this, where it's 90% a good facsimile of a romance novel that I'm not interested in. But this one version of it is great, and I hope they just kind of keep building on it.
All right.
You should read 3, and then we'll see if it's the new format or not.
I'll give 3 a shot.
Yeah, Hal said, I was hooked on first issue of Love Everlasting and confused. The second issue is just as confusing, but it's still really interesting.
Nice.
Anyway.
All right, Batman
I'm
versus
eating
Robin. What do you got there? A 100 grand? Wow.
Mm-hmm. Not
worth it. What do you sell those for at Gianni Destructo's Hero Complex at 4327 Main Street, Philadelphia?
100 pennies.
All right, let's move on to the next book, Batman versus Robin #1 from DC Comics, written by Mark Waid with art by Muhammad Asrar. Deep in the heart of Lazarus Island, the demonic legacy of the Al Ghul family line has at least been freed, and the devil Nezah is out for blood to reclaim his total domination over planet Earth. Nezah has supercharged magic. Anyone who dares use it is overcome by a demonic evil that supercharges their abilities to dangerous, unpredictable, and in some cases deadly levels. With Damian in Nezah's clutches and Bruce haunted by the return of an old friend, the Dark Knight and the Boy Wonder are pitted against one another in the battle of the century. So, Noel, you've been keeping up with World's Finest, yes?
Yeah. I did finish the first arc, and that whole first arc was like the main bad guy was this demon Nezra, and they traveled back in time and fought the demon and trapped them forever and blah. But then at the very end of that issue, World's Finest takes place in the recent past. So World's Finest is like 5 to 10 years ago in current continuity. So it's a younger Superman who's not married and with kid. Batman does not know about Damian. Damian's maybe not even born yet. Doesn't know about him. And Dick Grayson is still Robin. So they fought this demon. The end of issue 6, they immediately go to current day, and it shows Damian on Lazarus Island, which is, I guess, a thing that was in his series.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where the Lazarus term was. Finding the tomb of Nazra. So it tied into Damian's journey currently.
Nice.
So now this is picking up from that thread. So what Mark Waid has kind of done is, over the course of 2 different books, kind of built up a big bad, because apparently this Nazra is the source of the Al Ghul's kind of power. Like, he may even be the source of the Lazarus, or like, the supernatural source of the Lazarus pits.
That's cool.
This whole idea of I reading World's Finest, I had no idea if it was a new character or just an old character that I'd never fucking heard of, because there's millions of those. And
also, Mark Waid has a tendency to grab those types of characters and reinvigorate.
I had the feeling he was a new character, but have you found out?
No, I was actually just going to say, anybody listening or watching or interested in this, if you know that this is a legacy character that we've just is, hidden by the time, please pipe up and I will gladly admit defeat. It was a new character to me. But yeah, so like he's like over the course of 2 series, he's kind of built up this bad guy, and I do not know what's happening in the Robin book, but this one starts with Robin being kind of I guess maybe possessed by Nezra.
So it would seem.
So it would seem. And he has like a little army of other little sons of bitches, and they're all gonna fight Batman.
These are previously known sons of bitches too, which is cool.
It's Tim Hunter, which was really interesting. But the big crazy weird reveal that I had no idea was going to happen in this book was, like, right off the bat, Alfred's alive. Now, Bruce goes through like all the steps of like proving that this isn't really Alfred, and all of them kind of fail, and hey, maybe this is Alfred. And knowing that the Lazarus Pits is kind of a piece of this, like maybe that is actually Alfred. Cool.
And Mark Waid is the writer who might be want to do something like that.
And so I'm also getting the impression that Mark Waid is one of the architects of like what's coming in DC for a while.
That would be cool.
Well, he's been writing more and more DC stuff the last like year and a half, and then post Dark Crisis, there's a bunch of things that his name's on, including like the primer issue at the end, like the Dark Crisis Big Bang. And I think even the solicitation says something like Mark Waid, architect of the DC universe. It like tells you all the things and blah blah blah. So
I'm okay with that.
I'm super okay with it too. Like, and if in these 2 books he's setting up maybe some fun new classically tinged things, I'm so fucking down.
His World's Finest has been bonkers good.
I'm like 2 issues behind, but it's awesome.
Issue 7 almost made the list because you could read it without having read 1 through 6, and it's just so fucking good.
Nice. Yeah, this was good. I like this particular issue. I actually really enjoyed this as well. I don't know if Alfred is back to stay or if he's just a side effect of what's going on with magic.
Maybe.
But, otherwise,
I hope he's back to stay. Right? Like, it's like he was gone for a while. Batman's cool with Alfred.
I can go either way. Like the way that they've. Same. So, I look at Captain America, Brubaker's Captain America, and how well you could pull off a character death in comics. Since Alfred's been gone, I've not missed him because they keep using him in context of him being gone. Like flashbacks of Alfred, what would Alfred do? Like, it's like you define the importance of the character not by constantly defining them, but by showing the space that has to be filled by everyone else around him. So I've not actually missed Alfred. He's been in every fucking book.
I mean, I haven't
He's
missed
just
him
not
either
currently
because I
alive.
haven't read a single Batman comic since he left. But
he's being represented.
Yeah.
In very, very fun and interesting ways. So like if he's back, rad, Alfred's the man. If he's not, and this is just a sense of closure for the characters, that's
He'll be
also
back
rad.
later.
I'm totally cool
It's
with
fine.
it. Yeah. It's if this is a trick, it's still comics.
Yeah.
It's okay. He'll be back.
I still don't remember how he got his hand back after losing his hand.
He lost his hand?
Yeah, Joker. You know what? I haven't read the second half of Snyder's run, so I don't know either.
You know what? Actually, is Alfred one of the first characters to die and come back? Because he died like in the late 50s, early 60s, something in that. And he was gone for a little while, and I think it was the Adam West TV show that they wanted him in that. And so they brought him back in the comics, and then he was the outsider for a while. He was
I remember that.
Yeah, he they did an homage to it in Flashpoint, where I think
I was going to say
was the outsider.
John's played with that shit. No, actually, it was like in Forever Evil, there was a version of the outsider from Earth 3 that was Earth 3's. So like Jeff Johns has been playing with that shit for a little while.
Yeah, because that was the original way that they brought him back. Was somebody had taken him and brainwashed him, I think, and turned him into the outsider, and then they got him back, and he was fine.
So, Mahmoud Asrar is a name that I see all the time, and like I'm always just cool with it. But he's not a name that it's just like I gotta pick that book up.
Yo,
his art is great.
Yeah.
His art is that's just it. Like it's always great. It's always really good. So I'm like, why don't I just follow Mahmoud Asrar? Because I don't. Right? Like his art is fantastic.
I have come around on him. When he first appeared, I was a little annoyed that he liked Stuart Immonen so much.
Oh, yeah, but we don't get enough Stuart Immonen. That's okay.
That's true. Like his original work, or I'm sorry, the original work that I came across when he first came around, as far as I was aware, it was a very, very much a Stuart Immonen ripoff. But in the same way that Patrick Gleason started off as a Doug Mahnke ripoff and has since developed his own style, Mahmoud Asrar has done similar.
Yeah, I really like looking at this comic. Two
nice.
comic-y type cool things. One you were just on, JD, where Batman's out, no resources except what he's got on him at the moment, kind of thing is cool. Where he's like, we got these 6 lockpicks and a small laser and this magic key, and that's it. That was cool. Also, the magical prisons that all of them, especially Etrigan, are in, is interesting. Like, what would somebody in the DC Comics world do or have happened to them? And Mark Waid is always knocks it out of the park in that kind of thing.
Super brutal. Yeah.
And he's really good at like, how would somebody who actually lived in this world do what they wanted to do? So yeah, I'm really looking forward to the next issue. And I had no idea that I would be this interested in a Batman versus Robin comic.
Oh, it's also a terrible title, but it's just
The thing that so Zatanna, man, this this image here with the snap neck and the new scoofa. The thing that confuses me is she's in the middle of doing a spell which says Golden Fairy burn to ash.
Yeah.
And then it backfires and hang yourself.
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, somebody used her kind of magic on her.
I didn't see that. Hang yourself. There it is. Super spooky to see Zatanna in that sort of way.
Yeah.
Now, do we know who Mother Soul is?
No, I don't. And I don't know if she existed before, but
no, but that's the demon. So head of the demon. Yeah.
You know what? I only read the one Robin issue for the show. Yeah. And that design looks kind of familiar. I wonder if she was the one running that tournament that was happening on the island. Yeah.
Hal, I thought the exact same thing. Thank you for saying it. So if Alfred is back, does that mean that Dick has to give up the money that Alfred left for him that he has been using to help people?
That sounds like
No.
something Alfred would do.
He'd be
He
like,
was
give
legally
my
pronounced
inheritance back, bitch.
He was legally pronounced dead. It's gone.
Is there in the DC universe though, like a standard clause in a will, like if I come back through the following means, the will is void and I get all my stuff again?
I'm gonna go with no.
You don't think so? They gotta get
No.
better lawyers in the DC universe.
So I have no inheritance to give to my children. I don't plan on having any inheritance. But if you would like to help, if you would like to help us, you can go to patreon.com/Johnny Destructo and maybe leave me a couple dollars so I can leave it to my son. That's what it's for, right? That's what Patreon's. I'll set it aside for my son.
A couple of bucks.
Yeah, just a couple of bucks a day.
If for some chance you don't care for the future of JD's son, you can always just go to youtube.com/CultPopGo or Facebook.com/CultPopPodcasts. Like, comment, subscribe, send us an email, engage with the show, have fun with us because we're here for you.
Yeah.
Not JD's son, for you.
No.
Because you're not contributing money to his future.
My son is a real son of a bitch.
Garbage people.
Oh shit. That's your wife.
Not my wife. I'm the bitch.
You know, I never think of somebody's actual parents. You go like, this son of a bitch. There's like a total disconnect between that and their parentage. You know,
it's not. It doesn't insult them at all. It only insults their parents.
Exactly. You're like, you're a great guy, you son of a bitch.
Well, I mean, most people like a good handful of people like their parents. So when you call them either one of them a bitch, it's an insult
on their behalf. Yeah.
Kevin made the best comment of the evening, and he says, "Pay these fools!" !
Yeah.
I'm very excited to talk about our next book, Creepshow #1 from Image Comics, written by Chris Burnham, Paul Dini, and Steve Langford, with art by Chris Burnham and John McCrae. Each issue of Creepshow will feature different creative teams with uniquely horrifying standalone stories. And I watched a movie the other night called Speak No Evil. And it is not the kind of horror that I would consider fun. I literally had trouble sleeping. It fucked me up. I woke up thinking about it. I spent the rest of the next day thinking about it. Man, it hit me in a very specific spot in my soul. And I thought, that is not a fun horror movie. That is not a horror movie that I would revisit. That is not the good times that I enjoy from horror. This Creepshow is. At least the first vignette of this is perfect Halloween Creepshow, Tales from the Crypt, Trick or Treat, the movie. Right up my alley. This first story was, I closed it thinking perfect. That was perfection. That's exactly what I want from a Creepshow comic, because I'm not a big fan of the Creepshow TV show that's currently going on. The budget is brutal, and the interstitials with the animated creeper are awful and silent and weird. And there's no reason for it to be there. The animatronic thing, it's so weird. It's so strange.
Animatronic?
It's not great.
That's so weird. That is weird.
The creeper on the intro of the show, the credit sequence, is like really bad CG.
Okay.
And then there is a animatronic creeper in the interstitials who never speaks.
Weird that they change it up in that way too.
Yes. And the budget is brutal. I've seen a couple of the episodes, and some of the episodes are actually quite good.
Yeah.
But you can definitely tell that there is no budget to speak of. It's on Shudder. Was it on Shudder? No. Yeah. But this was perfect. This was perfection. This is exactly what I wanted from a Creepshow comic book. What did you think, Brian? No, fuck you, Noel.
I enjoyed it. I I have the same feelings about the TV show. I want to love it, but I just there's too many barriers to fully enjoying it. It's like, as far as camp goes, it's not even very successful camp.
Yeah.
But this comic is just gross and great. It's very cruel, but like in a fun way. Is that something people say, that cruelty is
it's
fun?
fun.
Yeah, terrible people say that kind of thing all the time.
I also
no, I'm kidding, of
love
course.
Chris Burnham's. I love Chris Burnham's art.
Yeah.
He has a very explicit kind of detail that just lends well to horror and gross. I couldn't do an entire 60 issue series of this, say The Boys, but in this tone, in this style, this in and out, I like it. This is fun.
Yeah.
Shingo, of the two though, they were both really good. So the first story is Chris Burnham art, and he wrote it, written and drawn by him, and it's trick or treaters being assholes. The second one was written by Paul Dini and Steve Langford, with art by John McCrae. John McCrae of a lot of Garth Ennis stuff, including some Boys miniseries. So the fact that it was essentially a mascot eating children, it just was so gross and cruel. And the twist at the end, I actually laughed out loud because I didn't expect that. When they pop them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a relief you didn't get from the first story.
Right.
So no, this was like, as far as anthology books go, usually one is great and one is fine, or like 2 or 3 are great and a bunch of them are just like super mid. These were both like, they understood the assignment.
Yep.
And they just killed it. Yeah. I dug it.
What'd you think, Brian?
So this is a kind of horror that I also like. That kind of like Tales from the Crypt or its pursuant ripoffs, which I assume Creepshow was. But
probably, I'm not sure.
Probably, I don't know, back in the day. But that kind of like
which came first.
Top. Yeah, that's true. It could be a Hydrox Oreo kind of situation.
Yeah.
That kind of over the top anthology type, like with the host that cackles about the lesson kind of thing. Sort of, even if there is no host, that type of story. First of all, Marty McFly costume was cool. That did not come up yet, but it was cool. I like the art, and it's very much like one of those kinds of things. I thought one thing I noticed about the story, at the end of the first story, they're going trick-or-treating. At the end it says, when the dim October sun would give us the answer to Phil's burning question. Now, typically, in my experience, Halloween is celebrated on October 31st. So the next day is November. Yes, he wanted to say October, and he fooled himself into saying October. It's not that hard to be unfailingly correct at all times in every situation. So, but anyway, I love to point out things of that nature, and you really should catch that kind of thing, honestly. But
I wish my internet went out now.
See, I don't see why you don't get into that kind of thing. But it's like, hey, you should catch that. It's a logical point that you shouldn't make.
Trick or treating is not always done on the 31st, depending on what day it falls on.
Yes, it is.
No, it's
when
not.
is it not done on the 31st?
I mean, in the last 15 to 20 years.
Yeah, towns.
I've heard of like Christian groups trying to get Sunday Halloweens to not be Halloween, but I've never heard of it being successful unless in the event of some sort of like, crazy weather event or something like that. But what were you saying, JD?
Different towns over the years have put their Halloweens on different nights of the weekend.
Really?
Yeah. So if Halloween is on a Monday, they'll put it on Saturday night so that the kids can stay
up. It's October 31st.
So yeah,
I'm gonna write them all letters. But I've never heard of that. I've never heard of that happening. I've heard of people talking about it, but never in my experience. And I'm glad that I didn't.
It's not like an evil Footloose thing where they canceled Halloween. They just usually will like agree as a community and or a district, like trick or treating is going to be Saturday night this week, and like it's just.
Oh no, I'd be up for
very
it
normal
if it somehow changed to like it's always the last Saturday of October. You know, that kind of thing.
The day of Halloween doesn't change. It's just, collectively as a community, people will decide to trick or treat at a different.
Yeah. Anyway, that point, fantastic point by myself. But I felt that
I have power to take him off screen. Do you want me to do that? Do you want me to take him off screen?
You can take me off screen, Noel, but I'll still exist. But the story I felt was like some nothing. I was disappointed that I don't know. I felt like the guy acting out this vengeance, I wanted some reason that he does this kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like the spirit of this guy who I guess was shot by his child or something. I forget. But I don't know. I was left a little wanting by the tale itself. Just like one extra detail I think would have made it a solid story in my opinion. The second one, I really liked the twist ending. The whole time I'm like, these people are hardly reacting at all to this monster eating people around them. But I'll tell you, when the monster shows up and they're like, when I asked him how much he charged, he said all he wanted was lunch. I'm like, he's eating these people. These people are going to be eaten now, obviously.
Same, yeah.
Yeah, so throughout the whole story, I was a little underwhelmed. But the final part, I think, saved it, where they beat that creature and everyone is fine and they're still kind of blasé about the whole situation. Well, and she's this manipulative, person.
A lot of it has to do with the parents of this girl who's having the birthday party. And there's a scene where the mom and the mother and father are arguing, and they continue arguing even as they're being devoured.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's sort of the vibe of the story. Yeah.
Yeah, there is like a almost surreal or heightened reality kind of quality to it, where these aspects of people are really coming to the fore. This one again, I would have liked a little tie-in as to like the monster. Why is he there at this particular party? Like what drew him to be there? Something like that. I think would have made it a more solid story.
I don't disagree with you if this was a whole issue, but they have like 9 pages.
I know. Yeah. But I was also very interested in what came after this, and I don't know what it is. Was that Chitty?
Yeah, who does his printing?
I think he's been around for millennia. He probably does it himself.
A lot of these out-of-the-box products for like Squarespace and stuff are very simple to use.
Yeah.
WYSIWYG websites and what have you.
Yeah. You can make business cards of fucking anything, and it's just only like $20. It's fine.
And then Brian's talking about the final story, which I think is going to be broken up into the different. It's back matter, basically, right?
I couldn't even tell if that was part of this comic or if it was an ad for an upcoming comic.
I assumed it was just like back. I assumed it was back matter.
I don't know. It could go either way, as far as I know.
Yeah. I guess we'll find out in issue 2.
Which I will. I will read the next issue of this. This is right up my alley. I love it. Let's move on to Old Dog #1 from Image Comics, written and arted by Declan Shalvey. Old Dog follows Jack Lynch, a once promising CIA operative. On the eve of retirement, looking back at a failed career, he is tasked with one final mission that goes horribly wrong. He wakes years later to a changed world and even deeper changes within him. When a shadowy group offers Lynch a second chance for a life of adventure, he finds himself paired with the last person he could ever imagine. In order to adjust, this old dog will have to learn some new tricks.
What? That's like that saying.
That's exactly.
I did not
like
see that pun
saying.
coming. Yeah.
Right? You didn't see it punning. This was fine. I don't care. I didn't care about this. I like Declan Shalvey. I like his art. I like the cover. I was interested. Jack Lynch is the name of every CIA agent who has ever existed.
It's true. That must make it very difficult to be a CIA agent, you know,
or
Jack Lynch,
that's
or
the
very
intention.
easy. Yeah, they're like the men in
There
black.
are so many Jack Lynches, like John Smith's.
Yeah.
It's just.
Oh, Hal says it's my bedtime. See y'all next Monday. Bye, Hal.
Yeah.
Happy fantasy football.
All people in the CIA are named Jack Lynch, but not all Jack Lynches are people in the CIA.
In the CIA,
so they can blend in more easily.
Yeah.
I found myself confused by the storytelling, by the jumping back and forth, who's who, which version is which of Jack Lynch. And then at the end, it seems like he's just aging and de-aging at random.
Like,
I can't tell what's happening.
Yeah. So
specifically.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So Shalvey attempted to do a switcheroo, and some of the parts worked, some of them didn't. The first scene is actually the flashback, and the second scene is actually real time. So he sets it up to where you think that him being old is current day, and then they show you him being young on a mission, thinking that that's the past. But really, the old man is the past because he goes through a thing that ages and de-ages him. Like he's able to regenerate himself. So he's on a mission. He slowly starts to get old, regenerate. He gets really old and then gets young again. It's like his physiology is in constant repair, right? So I appreciated that. However, I didn't appreciate the fact that I didn't understand the fucking rules. So if by the time he wakes up in the bed and it's years later and he's different, in that scene they show him younger and then get older. I wanted just anyone in that fucking room to say, these are the rules of your new condition and give it to him. Because it doesn't make sense yet. Like how they did the switcheroo with the time periods makes sense. And I think that was actually done really well, but he didn't put the actual like pin on it or the punchline on it to actually say these are your limitations as just like, you know, for the narrative. Which it's like a clutch thing that needs to happen in the first issue that just didn't. And that I like this overall, except that just a really important piece, man.
I think you're absolutely right. Like in the beginning, I didn't care about this book at all, and then I got interested in it as it was happening. They set his character up real well as like a guy who was out of the game, not by choice, but because of a screw up and whatever. But then that page where he wakes up, he's young-ish. He's not as young as you ever see him, but he's got
gray temples, I think.
Yeah, gray temples, black hair, and a tighter skin. The next page, he's old again, and I flip back a couple of times, which is a failure of a story, right?
It needed to happen in dialogue. So Declan Shalvey is an artist first, a writer second.
Yeah,
he created the transition in the panels, which maybe if this was told straightforward or in a linear fashion throughout the whole thing, it would be clearer. But because he was already doing like kind of the narrative trick of showing you the past and the present concurrently, it was just confusing. So somebody in that room just needed to say what the new rules are.
Something you are bouncing back and forth, but whatever happens to you, you'll heal from it. Whatever.
I don't fault him for taking the swing too, because how many times do we say in this is a visual medium, show don't tell. This is one of those instances where, dude, you just need to fucking say it.
You got to lay it out.
Tell it.
Because
you've been showing it. Just tell it.
You know, like I said, the fact that I went back to that other page, I think 2, but maybe 3 times, is a bad thing about the story. Like, I should never be compelled to go back unless I'm so interested or into something that I wanted to see it again, you know? And so that was a letdown. the twist with it being his daughter was not a letdown, but it also, I think, didn't have the impact that he wanted it to or that it could have. That, it's like he thought his family was gone, and that's something about that is why he's out of the CIA. But no, it turns out she's not gone. And I don't know. I think it didn't land as much as it could have. I wasn't surprised by who she was that much because I also didn't know that she was there.
Yeah. I think it's I forget it. I was gonna armchair quarterback this, if they would have restructured this to here to this to there, then it's no, I'm not gonna make it a better book because honestly, I think it was a net positive. I actually enjoyed it overall because there's pieces here that I want to see continue. There's just that one linchpin in the middle that I think was missing, and hopefully it gets rectified. But overall, I thought that the paradigm of the past actually being the present and the present actually being what you thought was the present actually being the past is really fucking slick. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
It just, the dialogue didn't give me that, just that last yard.
I didn't get that because I found the storytelling so confusing. So the big twist, I didn't even grasp it. It was too twisty.
Which one, I lost my twist. One?
I don't know if it was more of a reveal. Not necessarily a twist. The daughter thing I think is a twist. The reveal of what you presumed was the past not being the past, that's just like a slow curtain, not necessarily like a look. And
Todd Engel says, what I want to know is John Travolta in it? I had to Google because I didn't know what he was talking about. Apparently, John Travolta was in a movie, a Disney film called Old Dogs with Robin Williams, Kelly Preston, Seth Green, Lori Loughlin, and Matt Dillon.
No, this is the prequel.
Not to be confused with
Old Dogs.
Not to be confused with Wild Hogs, which was the other John Travolta, Tim Allen, William H. Macy.
Was John Travolta in that? Martin Lawrence was also in that. Yeah. That was a good movie, actually. I was surprised at how much I enjoyed that movie. I thought this sucks. I think I watched it on an airplane, and I was like, oh, that was fun.
Oh, you know what? We're very heightened on airplanes because of the altitude. So
true.
Maybe you actually didn't like it.
Heightened.
Although I still would have liked it, right? It was just because of outside circumstances. But fun fact, they've heard that I think it's fun that how airline food they say airline food tastes bad. Apparently, part of it has to do with the incessant rumble of the jet engines, and you only have so much bandwidth in your senses, right? So some of that is taking up what you can pay attention to, and it deadens the taste of the food and presumably other sensations.
Brain is weird.
Yeah.
Last book.
Sergeant Rock versus the Army of the Dead, #1 from DC Comics, written by Bruce Campbell. Listen up, you primitive screwheads. And art by Eduardo Risso. Berlin, 1944. The Nazis are besieged on all fronts by the Allied forces. Defeat is inevitable. But Hitler and his team of evil scientists attempt a last-ditch effort that may turn the tide of the war and rewrite history itself. A serum that resurrects their dead soldiers stronger than they were in life and sends them back into the battlefield. Now, SGT, Frank Rock, and Easy Company have been dispatched into enemy territory to face off against the strangest, most horrific enemies they've ever encountered. Nazi zombies. Not zombies.
Sounds Italian.
Zatzis.
This was fine. I love Eduardo Risso, but do not give me a cover by Frank
Gary Frank
Davis. What's his name?
Camagari.
Gary Frank. Don't give me a Gary Frank cover and then have interiors by Eduardo Risso. It's a good looking book, but it's slight downgrade. This was fun. It's a fun horror book. It's got Nazis and zombies and Sergeant Rock. What else do you need? What did you think, Brian?
You guys, I did not get a chance to get to this one.
Well, shut
And
up. Noel, what'd you think?
But hang on a second. I was excited to, and when I saw Bruce Campbell wrote it, I was like, "That's pretty cool." And I paged through, and I do like the art, and that's it. That's all I can offer to this right now.
Cool.
Yeah.
Noel, did you read the fucking book?
Oh yeah, no, I do my homework.
Oh, good.
Well, I didn't know, and I continue not to.
No, Brian was too flabbergasted by the sun rising in October.
Yeah, yeah.
It was November. It was November 1st.
He spent 20 minutes about the October sun.
Yeah.
No, it really didn't require any thought at all.
Read the rest of it.
Not even a moment's thought.
He was writing into image for no prize.
It wasn't like thought to perceive the possibilities of it. It was just you contemplating why.
I did take a picture of it.
Got it framed, put it up on your wall.
No, I mean I really have a picture of it.
I did read this. I liked it. This is an instance of form versus function, the difference between a good comic book issue and maybe a good graphic novel eventually. This was a lot of setup, a lot of like scenery chewing dialogue by World War II grunts with that kind of dialogue. So it absolutely had a feel, but the actual like story doesn't start until 2/3 through the book. And it just feels like a zero issue. It feels like just an opening salvo as opposed to something meatier like a full issue would. So like I liked it. The art is great. I love Eduardo Risso. The jargon, the aesthetic, the first of all, the opening scene is Hitler ripping a man's head off. So there's more to, I want this to escalate to the point of monster Hitler fighting Sergeant Rock and his Howling Commandos like that. Or are they? No, they're not Howling Commandos. No,
that's Sergeant Fury.
Easy Company.
Yeah. Easy Company. Thank you.
Not dissimilar from one another.
Yeah. Tomato. But I wanted to escalate to that kind of ridiculous level, and I think it will get
Commandos.
there. Yeah.
Easy Commandos.
I wanted to get there. This first issue. If I was giving this to somebody, I'd be like, hey, hold out for at least the second, because this really was a lot of table setting and not a lot of grisly zombie meat.
See, you said that to me before I read this.
Yeah.
And then as I'm reading it, I go, what's he talking about? I didn't feel that at all. It feels like a very full first issue. We're introduced to Sergeant Rock and Easy Company. We're introduced to Hitler, who rips a man's head off. What's all the tapping?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go on.
And then they take 2 pages to explain, how they got zombies, and then we've got a zombie.
Yeah,
who rips his way out of a cage and tries to kill the Easy Commandos, and they figure out how to kill him, and it takes forever to kill him, and they're like, holy shit, that was only one of those dudes. And then at the end we've got I don't know what this last page is. Is it just any dude? Who's Weeder?
I don't know.
Weeder?
I guess it's just any dude.
German or something.
That's fair. I mean, it's just like it checks all the boxes. I think I would have rather read this in bigger chunks.
Okay.
It
might read.
There's nothing. Better. Yeah, there's nothing I dislike about this. It's just there's times when you finish an issue and you're like, I can't wait to the next one. I want more. And there's times when you read an issue and it's just like, I liked this. I wanted more.
I see.
Like it's literally just it's a couple of degrees. Like this is not bad. This is good. It felt like a empty calorie as opposed to a solid meal.
Yeah, maybe instead of 6 single issues, like 3 double-size issues or something.
A double-size issue like Prestige format or something, or even like, man, DC has been doing such great YA OGNs. Why didn't this just come out as an OGN? Just like a fucking Halloween bitchin'.
Yeah, Bruce Campbell book. OGN. Yeah.
That's true. It's true. Like, that would have been great.
This is going to end in February or March. Like, it should have just came out. I would have loved this to just be like a good chunk. Also, too, like I'm waiting for the German.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
Yeah. Do you know people used to tell ghost stories at Christmas or midwinter? It was a very classic thing. I recently found that out and yet discovered that the evidence had been before us the whole time. There's one in that song with tales of ghost stories. Yeah. And then A Christmas Carol in another way. Yeah.
I was gonna say Scrooge.
Yeah,
JD.
I was just looking it up to see. I was like, oh, maybe it's a weekly book. No, issue 2 comes out October 26th.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should have started this. And knowing, like, I know that DC now does. They almost completely finish books before they're solicited. They're on like this schedule of like starting things way in advance. That's why there's never any late books. They just take forever to be solicited. This could have been a tighter schedule and just like a meatier book.
Yeah.
But whatever, the market. JD, when you were reading Sergeant Rock, did you hear Bruce Campbell's voice? Because I did.
Yeah, I could hear it. Yeah.
He would play a good Sergeant Rock.
The dialogue was very like, come on, you idiots, let's do this. Yeah. Like it was just very much a Bruce Campbell's cadence, which didn't bother me. It was good.
No, yeah, I liked it too. It was.
You guys, wouldn't it be cool if he decided to return to Briscoe County Jr.? He was like, let's do it. Oh, that was my first exposure to Bruce Campbell, and it was like steampunk before I'd ever heard of steampunk, but with a little even more future-y tech involved. And I don't remember a thing about it except the thing that they were looking for and the fact that I liked it. And it was awesome.
You're so nostalgic and fond for something you barely remember the details.
Oh yeah, no, I just remember liking it and liking the aesthetic of it. You know what I mean? Like,
it was a great show.
Old West. Yeah.
It was absolutely great show. I loved it.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I it's occurred to me a couple of times to like get out, and I never do.
I mean, it might not have the same impact as it did at the time.
Also, it's very specifically it's not lampooning or parroting, but it is like borrowing heavily on specific Western television Western tropes.
Yeah.
So if you're not familiar or at least nostalgic for that genre, it may not hit the same way at all. Because I
never was too into Western stuff, but
but how old were you?
Young.
Yeah. So like, we're talking to like maps with red dots and like specific horse trick stuff. Like if you just aren't into that, then it might be a rough sit, depending on how like invested you are in them capturing this genre well, Yeah. It's like you can't force somebody to be a fan of DS9. They have to kind of like really be invested in a specific type of Star Trek and diplomacy in space.
It was a good show. Didn't get into it as much at first, but because where's the ship? Come on. But I grew to love it very much.
You're proving my point. It's very much a specific kink. We can use that?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah. Well, my tastes are very particular. But I saw Bruce Campbell once at Philly Comic-Con with a white top tuxedo. It was awesome.
Now, yeah, that's very him.
Yeah.
I've met him a couple of times. Like that was maybe the only like last 5 to 10 years. Yeah.
Oops, we're dying. My connection's getting real shoddy.
Oh no.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We will see you next week, next Monday at 9 p.m. What are we talking about? Do we know?
I don't know. Hey, we could do. I meant to bring it up when we were talking about Batman versus Robin. The Mark Waid's Brave and the Bold, which I think you guys have both expressed some interest in.
Well, there's different versions of Mark Waid's Brave and the Bold. There's the George Perez one, or there's the one that he did of just Barry and Wally.
No.
Barry and Hal, sorry. There's different ones.
No, I mean the one that with George Perez that we talked about. I think you got it, didn't you know?
I did.
Okay. Well, we don't have to do that. We could do something else.
Yeah. More on that later.
Yes. Possibly next week.
Yeah.
We'll talk offline. Don't go offline yet. Yeah.